Hey Fragheads, it's me again, and today I'm talking about a perfume, and I'm actually very happy and excited to talk about this one because as far as I know there hasn't been any review about it on YouTube yet, neither about the fragrance itself nor about even the brand. I think the brand is pretty new as well. So the perfume is called British Grasslands and the brand is called Fragrantarium. I'm pronouncing it in German because I assume it's pronounced German. And yeah, this is very different from pretty much anything I've ever smelled before. And it's also very different in its approach from everything that I've come across yet. So what is this fragrance? So first of all, I'd like to talk about the general approach of Fragrantarium. The perfumer is Julia Asenbaum. She's Austrian. She actually lives in Vienna, works also in Vienna too. And from her biography, she actually her main goal was not to become a perfumer or to create perfumes, but to talk and teach about plants in general. So usually when you have something like a natural perfume, for example, I don't know, the Jardin series from Hermès, for example, you might think that it smells natural. And to some extent it actually does smell natural. So for example some notes smell very natural or even realistic, but the whole scenery after all is created by a perfumer and is actually very abstract compared to an actual natural smell. And this is where Fragrantarium comes in and tries to recreate natural scents and smells in a very, very, very realistic way. And the way she does it is by creating or using so-called the Headspace approach. And let me, before I get into the perfume, I really have to explain the Headspace idea. Headspace, what does it mean? So usually when we take ingredients from plants like oils and or from blossoms or roots and leaves and everything, we try to extract the actual substance itself, for example a certain kind of resin. So we take the resin, we distill it out of a plant, we concentrate it, and then we use it in combination with other smells and scents that we achieved in the same way. A Headspace creation tries to recreate the smell that the plant gives off in the air. So that's a very, very different approach. So it's not the actual ingredient, but the smell that is produced by the smell. And let me give you one equivalent. Like if you try to recreate the scent of a human being, of maybe someone you like, you fell in love with, and you try to recreate his or her scent. The equivalent would be taking the sweat, for example, of somebody and collecting it in a bottle, as opposed to having a t-shirt of that special someone that smells of the person itself. So that's the difference. So even if those natural perfumes smell natural, they are not created by nature. And actual natural smells have been created in the course of millions and millions of years. And what I think is also very important, even if those smells appeal to us, which often enough they don't, but even if they do appeal to us, they are not made to appeal to us. They are made to, for example, for plants to communicate with each other, or even to fight against certain things. One nice example that you can read about on the website of Fragrantarium is, for example, the smell of cut grass, freshly cut grass, which most of us find very pleasant. But it's not a smell that's made to smell pleasant, but it's actually a smell that tries to alert a certain kind of insect, mainly a wasp, I believe. So for example, you have some plant and that gets eaten by a caterpillar or the like, so then it gives off this smell of freshly cut grass, and then that will call a certain kind of wasp, which will then lay its egg in the caterpillar, so it will die and stop eating the plant. So that's the actual reason for these kind of smells that, as I said, have evolved in millions and millions of years, and that's a totally different kind of creation process than what we as humans try to do. So what does it smell like? So first of all, British Grassland, name basically speaks for itself. It's a very green smell. It's very fresh, especially in the opening, but it's also very, very earthy and peaty. So it's dark and it's edgy, and I actually don't want to talk about too many notes here. There's a note breakdown. There are some flowers, earthy notes, also green notes, of course. But I'm actually a bit surprised that she gives a note breakdown for this perfume, because that's not what this perfume is about. It's not about certain kind of or parts of smell or certain details. It's about the whole scenery, and that's a very, very big difference, in my opinion, to what we've usually seen. Oh, many crows. Okay. The most prominent note is the earthiness, the peaty note. And as I said, there's a note breakdown. I don't want to talk too much about it. So for example, if you spray it on your skin, if you want to look for certain notes, you can find them totally. For example, if I look for there's a minty aspect to it, and if I smell very close to, okay, there's a mint, but that's not the thing here. The thing is that it creates a very distinct and super realistic atmosphere. And one major note that I still want to talk about, which is not in the note breakdown, is geosmin, which I believe is very prominent in this perfume. So some of you will know the note of geosmin, for example, from zoologist's bat, which is a very pungent and strong and powerful fragrance, which is almost, which I totally love, but it's at the same time it's almost unwearable because it's so strong. And there's this very edgy and sort of unpleasant side to geosmin, but at the same time it's also very strongly connected to the smell right after a rainfall. So especially when you have some dry earthy ground and suddenly there's a rain, you will totally know this kind of smell. And there are other perfumes where you will find geosmin, for example. Coven by Andrea Marc, or Peu d'ailleurs, Peau d'ailleurs, thank you very much, by Philip Stark. But these are actually also are very abstract, not very natural perfumes after all. This one is amazing. You won't believe it. It's photorealistic beyond belief. It's unbelievable, truly, and that's also different from many other perfumes. So usually what we try to do with perfumes is creating an abstract smell. We don't really want to recreate a natural smell because, as I said, some parts of it may not please us because they are not made to please us after all. So so we soften the edges, we try to give it a bit of a different context, or we take some note that has nothing to do with the natural side of the perfume at all, to make it more human-like, more pleasing, more wearable. And the magic about this is that it's very wearable, as opposed to many other perfumes with this jasmine or petrichor note in it. So, and that, in my mind, adds to the realism of British grasslands, because here, for example, I'm standing not in nature but in a park, and I can smell some things like the earthiness and the trees and leaves, but they are not extrait de parfum, they are not eau de parfum, they are very light and actually very subtle, even if they are very distinct, but they are not very strong. So in my mind, the strength of this perfume actually adds to the realism, and it wouldn't be so realistic if it would be much stronger than what it is. So the opening is very fresh. It's very it's actually remarkable. The freshness is actually very remarkable, because it's not ozony, it's not soapy, it's not citrusy, it's earthy, and earthiness is usually not considered to be very refreshing, but this is, and the reason is because it's also a very wet scent. It's a very watery, and you can totally you totally get that atmosphere of humid air right after a rain. And that humidity lingers pretty much throughout the entire life of the scent, except for maybe the very base. And the base is reached after about 6 hours, I'd say. So it's not the most long-lasting fragrance, although the creator itself recommends to also spray it on your clothes if you want to have a bit more out of it. But on skin, I'd say 6 hours. But as I said, it's perfect the way it is. Because if it would be stronger, it would be overpowering, and it wouldn't be natural at all. It would be more human-like, or what we would like to smell. So it totally stays within that natural space. And that's what I really like. It doesn't make any compromise in that regard, and that's something I really enjoy. It's a very daring fragrance, in my opinion. I'm not sure how many non-frag heads would really be impressed by this perfume. But for those who really are looking for something special, this is it. If you're into natural smells, you gotta have to try this. This is different from anything I've ever smelled before in the field of natural perfumes. And so, yeah. I also would like you I would like to recommend you to go on the site. I will put a link in the description box. because there you will find a lot about the context of this brand and the biography of the perfumer. One thing that I find pretty interesting, for example, is that she studied, amongst other things, phytochemistry, so the chemistry of plants, which is actually the same field that Marc-Antoine Corticchiato studied. Some of my German reviewer might remember my review of Ambre Russe by Parfum d'Empire. So they both are not actual perfumers, haven't learned perfumery, oh my god, but they studied phytochemistry. So what is happening in the plant? Why does it do it? Why does it produce certain kind of oils or resins, for example? And you will also find, because that's how she started to try to teach us about plants, or bring us closer to what plants are trying to do. You will also find wonderful, beautiful drawings of plants. They are very, also very realistic, but also they have a very vivid coloring that makes them stand out, in my opinion. Super beautiful. And also you can buy samples of each of her fragrance for not too much, I think, but I would totally recommend to give it a try. And she's also talking about the science side of things, a bit about phytochemistry, about plant communication. The website is actually very beautiful and very insightful as well. So yeah, I've been owning this one for a few days, testing it for about 3 weeks, and have worn it at least, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 times, and every time I enjoy it more. It's such a wonderful fragrance, and yeah, and I'm glad to be the first to talk about it. Yeah, actually. So if you're into natural fragrance, give it a try. If you're into edgy fragrance, totally give it a try. This is good. This is high quality shit. And maybe not the strongest perfume, but as I said, I mean, it's not a weak or fleeting perfume at all. I should say that too. It lasts for about 6 hours and then slowly dies down. Spray it on your clothes and it will last a bit longer. Spray it in your hair, it will last a bit longer. But the thing is, anyway, it's not about the smells, but about the atmosphere it creates around you, and that's it. Really, it has some serious magic to it. Yeah. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Yeah. Yeah, buy samples, support her, give me some feedback, and be happy.